Okay, welcome everyone. I want to call this meeting to order at 11:03 a.m. for the Pawnee Business Council quarterly meeting on November 2nd, 2019. Sammy, do the invocation.
No ideas, dear Lord. We come to you this morning, Heavenly Father God, to give thanks for this new day, all the blessings that are going to be ours, Heavenly Father, throughout our day. We're mindful of those that are without, those that are in mourning, Heavenly Father, our elders, wherever you find them, however you find them, ask you to bless each of them. Be with all of our children, Heavenly Father, and those yet to come. We're thankful, God, to represent our Pawnee people, the Utikis like that, Heavenly Father, asking that you show your mercies to each home, Heavenly Father, every table like that, God. All of the livelihoods that are here within our nation. Be with our neighbors, Heavenly Father, our neighboring tribes, our Pawnee townsmen like that. Ask that you take care of our other chairperson, Heavenly Father, our council member, Buddy Lone Chief, God, as he's recovering from surgery today. Be with us, council members, as we make decisions for the people, Heavenly Father, that we put the people first like that, and we just try to work together to bring us forward. Asking all of this in Christ Jesus' name. Amen.
May we have a roll call, please?
James Lecture.
Here.
Darrell Wilson.
Here.
Patricia McCray. Here. Angela Thompson. Here. Sammy Kimball.
Here.
Donna Hare. Here. Charles Lonchi.
In reference to Mr. Lonchi, I talked to him yesterday, and he does have some medical problems. And after explaining what's going on, I told him, I said, well, take care of yourself. I said, I'm a firm believer in family first. So I said, take care of yourself and come back when you're ready.
Charles Lonchi.
Here. Okay, approval of agenda. Do we have any changes, corrections, or additions? Donna?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Roll call.
Darrell Wildcat.
Yes.
Patricia McCray. Yes. Angela Thompson.
Yes.
Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Donna Hare. Yes. Charles Lonchi.
Yes. Motion carries. Well, we're not going to have any open forum this morning because I don't see any names on the open forum sign-in sheet. So we'll just go ahead and continue. Pawnee Nation quarterly reports and divisions. Muriel, would you report for the divisions?
The divisions.
Okay, good morning. The executive report for this quarter I have part of the information, but not all of it. But I do know that during this particular quarter, we've had 3 different executive directors in this office. And some of the information is there and some of it isn't. But one of the things that I have noticed as I was reviewing the records was the fact that looking at our staffing for the Pawnee Nation, right now 61% of the staff for the Pawnee Nation is either Pawnee or they're descended from Pawnees. And then only 19% of our staff, of 107 people, only 19% of them are non-Indian. So we have 81% of our staff is they're either Pawnee, or they're Pawnee descendants, or they're a different tribe, which is a fairly high level. And it's a level that, in looking at past reports, it is going up. So we just need to keep working at it and making sure that as we review the applicants, we do, they are given extra points for the different categories. If they are Pawnee, if they are Native, they're given points for their educational levels. So there are several ways that our people that we are starting to get in, we're trying to make sure that they're given all the opportunities that they can in order to succeed. And I think currently we do have 6 positions open. We just opened up a position with gaming. We've got the CRD assistant position is open now because the money has come in, is available for that position now too. We have, we need to do a replacement for housekeeping at IHS. I forget what the other 2 were. But we're trying to keep up with those and get them posted as soon as possible so that we have a very, very short turnaround time on all of these positions now. There are still some positions that are on hold, and that's just due to funding availability at this time. But as soon as the funding does become available, then those positions will be opened up also. One of the items that I did look at as I was preparing this report, because I also prepared the annual report for the Aided Travel Government contract, which partially pays for the 2 positions in the executive office. And in doing so, a lot of one of the main goals and objectives is the fact that the executive office acts as a liaison between the tribal membership and the council. And so, that's something that we have to really make sure that we show that we are doing that. And every year since I've been doing that, I've been looking at it, and we have been meeting that goal. There are other goals in there, such as communications. It's a goal that we have exceeded for the last 2 years because all of the council meetings are now on the internet now. They're available. A lot of the different events that are held by several of the different programs are also placed on the internet so that our tribal membership can see what's going on here, because the unfortunate thing is not everyone lives here in Pawnee or is able to attend. So it does help out a lot. Our tribal membership, as we have noticed, is going up. As we can tell by the number of resolutions we're having to do now for new members. So we're growing. It's not going to be an overnight thing, but we are growing. As I stated before, under looking at our staffing and everything, we are increasing in our number of Native employees. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions, but I'm really grateful for that report. It sounds really promising. I'll just do that too.
I apologize.
You're okay.
I guess I should admit to it now. I do wear a hearing aid, and there are times when with different people. At different times, I can hear only certain tones, and I do apologize for that. I'm trying to get a new one.
Dawn, would you just let her know that? Thank you for the report.
Yes, I'm getting there, smoke signals, okay?
Okay, thank you for the report, Muriel. But I also wanted to ask you about, I know that our tribal employees have really come in there over the past few years without any training funds. Do you see funds opening up for training in the next few quarters?
We're always hopeful. A lot of it is dependent upon Harrison. As he watches the dollars and things like that, as it comes in, as you recall, when we did the 2020 budget call, we tried to keep that deficit as low as possible. And so, in doing so, we still have had to keep that, cut down as much as possible. But if the income level starts going up, then of course we can start entertaining that.
Okay. I'd like to ask for some special consideration for your IT department and maybe some additional help with your communications. I know that Gina is like a one-person show and has a lot of responsibilities. So, yeah, but good report. Thank you.
I just have one more comment, if you don't mind, President.
No, not at all.
I'm sorry, President White. That just rolls out of my mouth. No, it's just a natural, I'm sorry. Muriel, also that's what's really important too for our employees and for morale and that type of thing is to make sure that every individual employee has an annual review that is timely. And that if there's funds available to them, then they should be compensated for good work. And that is one thing that really drives employee satisfaction. So if you could look into it for our next meeting and tell me how many people have not had a review,
Okay.
that would be helpful.
Yes, that'll be no problem. I had just started looking at those to see where we were on those, and those are, a lot of it's going to take talking to their division directors and their managers to get those reviews done, those evaluations completed, and so it is something that needs to be kept up on.
And if that division manager or director, whoever is not performing their job in due diligence to their folks, then we need to note that as well.
Right, they will be placed on a performance improvement plan, and if they don't meet those goals within the specified time, then they'll be, that'll be looked at again.
Sure, thanks a bunch.
Once again, thank you, Miriam. May I get a motion to accept the Pawnee Nation Division reports?
I make that motion. I second.
Call for the vote.
Darrell Walker.
Yes.
Tricia McCray, yes. Angela Thompson. Yes. Sammy Kimball.
Yes.
Donna Hare. Yes. Charles Monchi. Charles Monchi.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up is the Pawnee Business Council Committee reports. Budget Committee.
Budget Committee continues to meet regularly, usually meet twice a month, depending on how many council meetings we have. We try to set our meeting dates the week prior to council meeting, just in case there's anything that needs to be on the agenda. Since the budget call was completed in August for 2020, we are just moving along, passing budget laws, reviewing any new grants that are received, and they create budgets, monitoring cash flow, meeting with TDC in regard to their projections as well, and also with Mr. Kirk, he presented a financial report in regard to the opioid or the treatment facility. And anything that is approved or needs approval is usually on the agenda. So that's all I have for budget.
Okay, next up is Cultural Week Committee. Okay. Education Committee.
They have had no activity, so they weren't going to be.
Okay. Education Subcommittee on the Charter School.
Thank you, President Whiteshirt. So we were charged with making a recommendation to council on the charter school. And we basically did that before last quarter, but we really needed to do a little bit more work before we could hand it over. And so we've completed the work, and we are handing it over next week to the founding school board, or members who could be the founding school board. And there's still a lot of work to do. And but they, should have more expertise in the area and be able to, continue the project forward. So that will end. This was basically an ad hoc committee, so that really should end this committee.
Okay, thank you, Don. Enrollment Committee.
Good morning. That's me. I'm enrolled. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'm just going to read my report. The role of the Enrollment Committee is to review all Pawnee Nation enrollment membership applications, relinquishments of tribal membership, dual enrollments, and document the date of death of tribal members with integrity, accuracy, and utmost respect for confidentiality. After committee reviews, documentation recommended are then made to the Nashara Council. The Enrollment Committee is comprised of 5 members, myself as chairperson, Warren Dwayne Pratt is a member, Donna Hare is a member, and the Justice is a member, and we have one vacant place where I believe President Whiteshirt has posted Enrollment Committee member meeting one. The staff support is Carrie Peters, she is the enrollment manager, and Susie Canujo is the enrollment specialist. During this quarter, the committee reviewed and recommended the following to the Nashara Council: 18 new applicants, 3 conditional relinquishments, and no date of death of 8 deceased members. At this time, our enrollment is 3,582. 2,854 of those are 18 and over, and 0 to 17 comprise 728. We are continually working on our revision of the enrollment statutes, and that's all I have to report.
Okay, thank you, Patsy. The Governing Documents Committee.
Governing Documents Committee has not had any activity. We would like to look at the election ordinance. We're kind of waiting on the appointments, and I know President Whiteshirt has advertised for those committees. Right now, it's currently myself, Darrell Wildcat, Bill Howell, Pat Leading Fox, Carrie Peters, and I believe that's it. And I think Dawn attends as well. But the things that we're looking at is the election ordinance. Since just this past election, I think the election committee has some recommendations after this last election. So we'd like to get with them as soon as possible. So, and then of course the constitutional revision.
Is there any plans to omit that 50% cluster?
I think that was one recommendation, and we haven't looked at it, in detail. But the 50+1 is in line with the Constitution, so that's why it was added in there. I think it was 50%, and then we changed the language to line it with the Constitution, 50+1.
Well, I was thinking, if we could have this, I hate to call it a downfall. What is it? On the money?
A shortfall?
A shortfall that should be omitted because I don't know how much it costs, but several $1,000s to put that back on once we don't meet that 50% plus one. So if we're in that position, maybe we could save some money and some time.
Wasn't it like $4,000?
I think it's approximately 4,000 to 7,000, depending on how many times they meet to involve and what the detail of it. The purpose of that, or the thinking or the intent behind the runoff was that if you have 3 candidates present and none of them meet that 50% plus 1, and so you go for the top 2 candidates. Even if you did say one person got 30, 20, and 10% of the votes, you know, you're looking at, you have one candidate with the most votes that got 30%, but then you have the other 2, in regard to the people, did not vote for that one candidate. So in order to have the runoff, then it would just be for the top 2. That was kind of the intent behind that.
So kind of like a primary.
Yeah.
I think, I'm more inclined to do the majority vote.
Okay, when we meet, you know, I will take that forward to them.
Okay, thank you. Next up is the grievance committee.
They had no activity for the report.
Okay. Human resources committee.
I have been chairing that committee, and those that have served on it with me is Tiffany Fritz, Crystal Winholtz, Jamie Nelson, Kelton Kersey, and then the president and executive director are ex officio. So we haven't met this quarter because I didn't want to be presumptuous in assuming I was chair. And so we were just waiting for council appointments to be made. It is an honor, and I would like to continue serving on it if possible in some capacity. And because there's a lot of initiatives that I would like to see on training and development of our people, of our labor pool and of our human capital. So anyway, we did bring forward one policy that was approved in this quarter. Oh, actually, I think it was in October, but so I'll go ahead and report on it anyway. It was the the bereavement policy. And we changed that from 3 days to 4 days to be more in accordance with our tribal ways. That's right.
Thank you, Donna. Land Management Committee.
Thank you for the appointment. I'd like to just recognize the Land Use Management Committee members. John James, Brian Kirk, Charles Lumchi, Daryl Wildcat, Deb Eckerhott, Don Mason, Jimmy Justice, Lauren Quimby, Muriel Rubidou, Rhonda James, and Stephen Pratt. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of decisions that are made, and I have my report and I'd like to read it. I just went by the Pawnee camp and took a look at it myself this morning, and the arena, the actual arbor's beautiful. It's not quite completed, there's a lot of mud out there and stuff, but it looks like it's about 90% done. They still have to tear down the old restrooms and shower facilities. They've done a good job of managing our teepee ground out there for our NAC chapter. That is still being protected. The teepee poles are still there. So I was real happy to see that. So depending on the weather, the completion is scheduled for mid-November. The walking trail was completed, however, floodwaters damaged the trail with deep ruts and etc. But they are also going to start repairing that as weather permits. The Morris Road resurfacing, sidewalks, streetlights for the most part. This project has been completed, however, we are waiting for the railroad to complete the crosswalk that they are responsible for. This project allows for safer pedestrian walks, bike riding, and jogging. Agency Road, we're waiting on the lettering for signs, and that project is 96% complete. Catlett Road, waiting on the light poles, and this project is 96% complete. The First Street project was completed at the end of October with a ribbon cutting ceremony that included our leadership team and leadership from the City Council of Pawnee. This project allows an easier and safer vehicle crossing and access off Highway 18 across from the War Mothers Bridge while enhancing the appearance of the reserve entrance. Directional signage for the streets is complete. The Green Bridge funding has been submitted for improvements. Unfortunately, to completely replace the bridge is cost prohibitive due to engineering and environmental requirements. The Earth Lodge that Matt Reed and Charlotte Chief is leading is located north of the boys' dormitory. The project is on hold due to weather conditions, and as soon as the weather permits, an excavator will be brought in to complete the digging. Phase 2 will be the placement of timber. We have many donations that are coming in for that timber as well. The Drug Alcohol Treatment Center, the marketing strategy was approved by the Pawnee Nation Business Council on October the 28th and is being submitted to potential funding agencies. The planning includes a 28,000 square foot building with an estimated build cost of $15 million. This much needed facility will create an opportunity to treat addictions while generating revenue through third-party billing. The Stone Hollow parking lot will be resurfaced once the property is put into trust, which is supposed to be closing very soon. Yurt placement for indigenous corn harvesting is on hold until insurance and other details are resolved. Deb Eckelhawk met with donors in mid-August to discuss what we are seeking for the seed project, including caretaker housing, walk-in freezers, refrigerators, workrooms, etc. The seed preservation project team is working on a plan and design with the planning department to work through what we need in funding and how to keep our seeds strong and stored. The Pawnee Nation Museum recommendations for location has not been finalized. However, the plan will be brought to council once the museum board has a feasible proposal. That project has gained a lot of traction on the road, and they're really moving quickly through OSU students and what have you. Unfortunately, I haven't had a lot of bandwidth to really participate, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Nebraska lands. The FEMA status at Dornberg, Nebraska. John James is actually the nation's representative for FEMA activities for tribally owned buildings in Danforth. Unfortunately, the museum sustained irreparable damage due to extensive flooding, which caused the walls to cave in. Most of the merchandise was a total loss and little was recovered. I do not have John James's most current report. We should be meeting here within the next week or two, so I'll have more to offer at our next council meeting. Grand Island, the Heather Henson property. The survey was completed over the summer in which Pawnee students and interested groups walked through the property and analyzed and inventoried the indigenous plant base. A comprehensive analysis was also conducted by a crane conservation group and AmeriCorps team to study the indigenous crane and other wildlife on the river. This potential land donation by Heather Henson to the nation has negotiable requirements that are being worked out. I have indeed contacted the Bureau of Indian Affairs here within Pawnee and talked to Ms. Littlecook, who has advised me that we should be maybe perhaps working through the state of Nebraska in getting what they call a gift deed. So that's another phone call that needs to be made and some type of strategy done for that. I will report on that at the next council meeting as well. Kansas, the Smize property. The meeting between Ralph Heyman and the Smize is scheduled in the near future. There are no updates at this time. The Smize insist on only working with the Nashara Council, and the donation has many covenants that may not be possible. That's my report, President.
Okay, thank you, Sam. You're also the chair.
I am the chair, and I would like to know, because of my own personal things going on right now, my husband's ill,
And I'd like to know if there's somebody else here on council that would like to take ownership of that committee for now. Daryl? Okay. Would you mind doing that
On the
for land use?
land use?
Yeah, I'd still be a member, but I can't tell you from one day to the next what we're doing. So it's difficult for me to schedule a meeting and not have to postpone it. And that would be very temporary,
Yeah,
maybe through January.
yeah,
Thank you very much.
that's fine.
Appreciate it.
I'll do that.
Are there any questions from anybody on that report? Thank you.
Okay, Princess Committee.
Okay, can I just hop on that? Good morning, council, good morning, people in the audience.
Good morning.
Our Princess Committee is consisted of three and a staff. Jamie Nelson is chair, and myself, Rita Howell, and Tiffany Fritz were members. Cynthia Butler is our staff support. And in the third quarter, we were basically just really in support of our princess and attending her as many get-togethers as she needed or wanted to. That included powwows, parades, and she was even able to attend the giveaway day during our Wichita visitation. As for the committee, we were just really kind of like in discussions on what activities to do for this quarter and the first quarter, because the first quarter of the new year is when we really kind of plan and implement our princess selection. And also looking at different kind of fundraisers for us to kind of raise money, so we're not doing the same old things and trying to garner interest in what we're trying to do. And basically, I mean, it was kind of like a lull quarter, so that's basically all that we were kind of discussing. So we're looking forward to an additional member as we've seen advertised, so we can have some help, especially with the fundraising part of our committee. Is there any questions?
Thank you. Property Committee.
Property Committee consists of myself as the chair, Monty Matlock, DNRS Division Director, Donna Hare, Jimmy Justice, and Lauren Quimby. We met one time last quarter to discuss renovations to the trading post and who is reliable for the changes. And it was just discussion. It was determined that TDC is reliable. And then we discussed removing the fryer from the Rome Cheap building, and that was going to be removed, and cleaning the kitchen stove in all buildings, and I believe that's was going to be done. I'm not for sure if it has from the last discussion we had. The discussion was to keep property and land use separate, and that decision was made to keep the two committees separate. And Jimmy and Lauren are looking at developing the purpose and identifying those to bring back to council. We also talked about getting estimates for the wire fencing in the old superintendent building. And for now, they were going to board up the doors to the superintendent and boys' door. We talked about adding new buildings to the rental agreement, such as law enforcement, ICW, and adding those deposits. And they will be, I think they have that finalized, we just need to bring it to council. And then we also discussed the seed preservation storage, and a decision was made on that, and I reported that back out at the last meeting. And that's all. Oh, and the yard and land use, sorry.
And then I didn't report on the kitchen renovations here, with the school and all that, so I'm just going to put that over to you guys. Okay.
Thank you, Angela. Proposal Review Committee.
I'm speaking on behalf of our chairman, Buddy Lone Chief. And the proposal review committee's responsibility is to review and approve all grant submittals made on behalf of the Pawnee Nation. The committee members consist of Buddy Lone, Chief Chairman, myself, Brian Kirk, Laura Melton, Euro Rubidoux, and Reva Howe. The proposal review committee meets when it's necessary to approve and grant submittals. The review process also includes any updates on previously submitted grants and the status of funding. This past quarter, we only had one review meeting, and that was to address the Bureau of Indian Affairs Public Law 102-477. The proposal time frame of this grant is 2020 through 2022. The major goals of the proposal is to integrate employment, training, and related services in order to improve the effectiveness of these services and increase self-sufficiency with a focused effort on tribal youth opportunities for personal, career, identity, and cultural development, and serve tribally determined goals consistent with the policy of self-governance, and propose to add economic development as permitted by increasing employment opportunities by providing special services for entrepreneurship and allow for special services for employers. No travel or training was taken by the committee members, and this committee does not have a budget. That's all I have that was to say.
Okay, thank you, Darrell. Tribal Emergency Response Committee.
Good morning. The members on the Tribal Emergency Response Committee are the directors, division directors, and of course the executive director. The charter or emergency response committee is primarily administered by the emergency manager. Our emergency manager is still in training, so he's really not our emergency manager yet. Our service coordinator, John James. But we have not had any meetings this last quarter. Behind the scenes, we've been working on, predominantly John's been working on the recovery efforts with FEMA, both Nebraska and Pawnee. And also working on trying to get our hazard mitigation plan back on track for approval by FEMA. So, we haven't had any formal meetings this last quarter.
This Tribal Emergency Response Committee, this was also part of the continuity of government, right? So when we did that, one of the components of what we did was to make sure that we knew who was in the buildings in the event of an emergency. And that's why we have to sign in building 64, right? And that's why it's important for everybody going into that building to sign in, right? So we know. Okay. Just wanted to remind everybody.
Thank you, sir. Pawnee Nation Commission reports. Pawnee Nation Election Commission.
They had no activity for the third quarter.
Okay. Pawnee Nation Environmental Regulatory Board.
They had no activity for the third quarter.
Wait.
We have no activity.
Okay. That's good. Pawnee Nation Gaming Commission.
Morning, Council. Morning.
Morning.
I'm here serving as the acting chairperson for the Gaming Commission, and our current membership consists of Stephen Bird, Vice Chairperson, Daniel Sharon, Gaming Commissioner, myself, and we do have a vacancy due to James Rice taking a position with the TDC. And then we have Arthur Pawnee, who serves as our director, Arlo Frazier, field investigator, Christy Hamby, licensing manager, and Alicia Lee Fox, licensing assistants. And just this past quarter, we processed the investigation department had processed 20 vendor employee applications, 2 vendor packets, 18 standard employees, 20 key employees, and 8 key employee renewals. And primarily with the Gaming Commission, we had to make sure that all the activity within the tribal land for gaming is regulated. And we are going to be meeting with the TDC and council and Gaming Commission on November 20th to kind of go over some matters like the understaffing, NITC findings related to the understaffing, and the surveillance. So we did request a joint meeting, and that's just more just a fault in regards to Angela Thompson and then Buddy Lone Chief discussed at that previous meeting as far as requesting a joint meeting. So we kind of use that as an opportunity to go ahead and cover those areas related to the Gaming Commission. So that is it for November 20th. And then also for just this quarter alone, they processed vendor licenses fees, $14,500. Employee licensing fees was $8,950. Facility license fees, that will occur that was $0, but that occurs at the end of the year. And miscellaneous fee was $80. Any questions?
In light of what's going on the state level with the gaming compacts, and if what the latest I heard was that Governor Stitt and the Attorney General Mike Hunter is not recognizing the evergreen clause and that it should expire in January. And I'm sure they're going to give us some time for compliance, and hopefully we can get it resolved before then. But if we don't, and it goes to court, or if it drags on, since our mixed ticks and six are in relation to Class 3 gaming, how is that going to impact Gaming Commission regulatory activities, I guess?
Well, I know with the different tiers, it's based on the levels of the casinos. And I know with our upcoming, after 6 months after completion audit, then you go up to that level of surveillance and takes 6 on that there. I know with ours upcoming in 2019, that'll actually move us up to another level. But we had to be in compliance because that actually goes into effect 6 months after the audit's completed. So that's actually going to push us out for a while there. But as far as with the evergreen clause, I know that's pretty much it's tribe to tribe on that as far as with the clause, and that's pretty much what they had put in place with all tribes there. And it's an agreement with the Gaming Commission that it automatically renews in January 1st, and we're in disagreement with the Governor Stitt's position that it expires there, and obviously it's up to the elected officials to complete the renewals on that there. And President Weiser had just brought to the last council meeting that they intend to go and pursue a lawsuit, potential lawsuit there. And just correct me if I'm wrong there, I suppose arbitration with the state's requesting there.
I guess my specific question, Lyle, was, is there anything on the regulatory side that is going to have to take place if that evergreen clause does not continue? Or will our current Gaming Commission laws still remain intact? Or is there things that Gaming Commission is going to have to do in regard to that?
No, they remain intact as far as that closing out there.
Okay, great, thank you.
Treasurer Thompson, in regards to that, I would like to also add to that anything that does happen on January 1st, which I do agree, I think there probably will be a lawsuit. I think what's going to happen is the federal judge who's assigned to that case will immediately order that the current compact will remain in place until further notice. So with that being said, I don't think it's going, I can't speak for Melissa Campbell, who is the attorney for the commission, but based upon what I've been hearing at these meetings, and I think President Whiteshirt, he's heard some stuff too, he's been there as well, that I think Amy will continue.
Yes.
But the thing is, though, the arbitration, I don't know how the president feels about it, or what his interpretation of the group was. My interpretation is the other Indians do not like this idea of arbitration, and they totally disagree with this idea of the evergreen clause not being effective. So I think things will stay in place, but I look for there to be a battle. Although, if you noticed in my report, one thing that I've been talking to the general, he's actually the chairman of the OIGA about, and I've shared this with some of you all as well, is the more and more we get closer to January 1st, the more and more I feel the governor's not in the driver's seat here. He thinks he is. I actually think the one who's in the driver's seat is the state legislature. Because anything that is agreed to, or anything that it has to be modified or ratified, has to be ratified by the state legislature. So I think it's going to be a deal where the Indians are going to negotiate with the President Pro Tem, with the state Senate, and the Speaker of the House and their leadership team. And the governor, at some point, once a deal is cut, whatever that deal may be or not be, who knows, the governor will be told, sign it. And he will, because he's not going to want to go back and undo whatever those negotiations end up being. But I also agree with President Weischer. I think there's also at the same time going to be a federal lawsuit that's going to be a companion thing in this whole negotiation. But that's a long way around the barn, so sorry.
Lila, this is my opinion on that. Since the state realized that they couldn't divide us by using the smaller tribes against the larger tribes, they've come up with this idea of arbitration. And so far, 31 of us are still in solidarity. When we heard that word arbitration, no go. We're still the same. There's not going to be any arbitration.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Lon.
Thank you.
Pawnee Nation Liquor Control Commission.
Good morning again. There are currently 5 people seated on the Liquor Control Commission, which is fully seated. Myself as chair, Cynthia Butler as the secretary treasurer, Phyllis Sotsy, Tyler Butcher, Alpine Kirk, and then Phil Tax as our staff support. During this third quarter, we're excited because we finally got to implement our new taxes on our liquor and beer sales in all of our stores. And so we've actually started to see revenue from it. And it was implemented, we started implementing in mid-August. So we started to receive checks. So now we're making revenue for the Liquor Control Commission where we can start sustaining ourselves instead of on a tribal budget. Within the last 3 months, we've kind of just, we're looking at other laws and other ways to strengthen our Liquor Control Act, and not only that, being more efficient between us and TDC, so we're starting to look at our standard operation procedures on how we do fill out forms and stuff, and making it easier for whenever Lyle needs to fill out licensing and stuff, that it's more efficient and it's not confusing. We are also in talks with the finance office about, because we're receiving revenue and everything, and we're kind of like using tax commission's forms and everything, so we're trying to add on to there, but we need it to be separate. So the first couple of checks came in and had tax commission on it, but it was like all inclusive of liquor taxes also. So now we're separating those out and trying to figure out what we can do in our budget to kind of identify our revenue gains during this time. And we've talked with TDC about doing trainings with their onboarding employees, because there's issuing any kind of violations that we're not just throwing them out here and there without due process. So here, for this quarter, from July to September, we have revenue of just over $1,000. So, like I said, we're super happy about that. And we've approved 12 licenses, and then we have approved over 4 incident reports. And we're for the future, like I said, we're continuing to interact, and we'll be coming forward to council with approval of some more amendments, kind of strengthening our act to kind of correlate with what the state's doing. That way we don't have to keep coming back to have those changes made. So whenever the state changes, we kind of correlate with that, especially when they extended liquor store hours and alcohol sales to a certain time where our actors and stuff like that. So we're kind of doing what other tribes are doing too, so we kind of look at their acts. So we'll be bringing that forward in the next quarter. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Pawnee Nation Sports Commission.
We have no activity for the board.
Pawnee Nation Tax Commission.
Let's go ahead and report. Kathy Daniels, the chairperson, she had recent surgery, so she wasn't able to attend. I'm going to present on behalf of the Tax Commission. And our current memberships consist of Kathy Daniels as the Tax Commission chairperson, Martha Onlensheep, assistant tax director, Ann Collins, sergeant at arms, and we've had a recent addition to Leanna Teeter and Ann Collins. And right now they've been focusing on but also we do have a vacancy on the Tax Commission, but we have requested to be filled and haven't heard anything yet to replace that vacancy. We have a resignation for personal reasons, Lisa Eden walks there. So we are requesting that position to be filled. I think it's very important to have a fully staffed Tax Commission, because right now the Tax Commission is working on the vehicle registration rate increase there, as well as they've been working with Leo Alcohol. She came off the commission, and she recently forwarded us some information related to hemp legislation that the Tax Commission is trying to work to put in place for the nation to proceed forward with marijuana and hemp legislation. So they'll continue moving forward on that legislation, and I'll be working with the casinos on the vending device decals that are coming up for renewal in December, expired December 31st, 2019. And there's probably 300 to 400 on the vending device decals. Now this applies to machines that are leased to at the casinos, not owned by the tribe. So there's a vending device decal that applies $50 per machine. So I'll be working with the TDC on getting those fees paid, and then complete the fixing the labels on there. And then also they've been working with the Attorney General Don Mason on the Oklahoma Intertribal Tax Association, and it's kind of pretty much been pushed back because of the recent occurrence of the Gaming Compact. Tribe has been really just focused on with Governor Stites' request to increase the exclusivity there. So that's kind of been pushed back there. They were scheduled to meet in September, but it's decided to meet a later date there. And that's pretty much all I had. Any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Lyle. So I've had several complaints lately about people being able to get their titles or get their cars tagged. And one of the issues is that, and I needed to see if we need to do some work on our act, our code, our tax code, is that there's involvement of the commissioner. I mean, that's instead of just processing the work administratively, it's going, decisions are going to the commissioner, the chair. And so one of our tribal members, and then also I think the AG's been involved too, but one of our tribal members recently lost her husband and tried to get her car tagged with Pawnee because he was another tribe and was not able to, and so had to get state tags and got state tags just like that. And she was really concerned, and her concern wasn't so much as not being able to get a tribal tag. I mean, she did want one, but her concern was the tribe losing revenue, you know, on these. And then I had another one that'll come up that I heard about yesterday, and that one had to be registered with another tribe out of state. So I don't know if there's work that we need to do on the codes or the law, the tax law, but to just make it administrative where, you know, that the office staff can just take care of it.
Well, with that, not really going into detail what involved there, did it in regards to their driver's license?
I don't know that there's three situations that I know of. One is like from last year, but two are recent within the last quarter.
Okay, well,
Yeah, I don't really need an answer for those specific things today. I'm just saying I think we have a problem with our law or whatever. You know, if I don't see where commissioners should be involved in everyday work and making those type of decisions.
okay. Well, whenever it's not covered in the code with policy procedures, you cannot cover every instance. We've had like different instances that were not covered in the code, and generally those go to the chairperson as far as how to proceed forward on that there. And we've even had issues that were not covered in the code there that went to tax commissioners on their monthly meeting, and then they gave me some guidance as far as how to proceed on that licensing issue or how to proceed with the they've been pretty much just restricted to just tribe members who have a valid driver's license. And then as far as unique situations where we had a tribe member come down who, I think you might know what you're talking about from yesterday. We had a tribe member who was already on the way down, and they were going to email the documents over to us there. And she didn't make the exception where we were going to go ahead and title the documents by email, but they never came forward in the mail there. So we're just pretty much just trying to stick the code there where we had to have the original documents, and that's why I had to get the proof of the chairperson on it there.
Oh yeah, no, that wasn't it.
Okay. Well,
But anyway, I think we may need to look at the code.
I agree on that. So if anything concerns you'd like for us to look at, if you guys will get submit them in writing, as far as areas that are concerned there, and I can present at the tax commission meeting, and we can move forward as far as potential legislation to address it specifically there.
I have a comment. So while you're the director of that area, right?
Yes.
You manage that?
Yes.
And so you should be able to use your own discretion. I don't think you have to title up to a chair. You could bring all of that forward to your meeting and let everybody have a buy-in to it and have an opinion, and it might be a little bit more balanced at times for people in need. So if you can't figure it out yourself, then I would just save it for the tax commissioner or email them all and just say, what's your opinion? I mean, I got this guy that needs the tag and whatever. If you could let me know by 4 o'clock, I'm going to respond to him in the morning.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mom.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Pawnee Nation Tarot Commission. Afternoon, sir.
We had a lot of changes this quarter and stuff, and so I'll just do a little quick readout and as well as update. We do have positions for the tarot advertised this time, but currently on the board is myself, Grant Hawkins, and Susie Knight G, Crystal, and Mr. Morgan Wilson. At kind of the beginning of the quarter, we had around 20 more clients and stuff. We've added at least 30, we're up to 61. Yeah, 61 clients and stuff to take care of. Recently, 3 out of 4 commissioners and stuff had attended a training in Norman with the EEOC. A lot of the things they talked about was a lot of the new city oils and stuff like that with employees that, you test somebody for drugs and have that in consideration and stuff. That's a lot of what that was about. The next part of the report is pretty much what has been said before in other folks' report about what concerning Carroll, DUIs of person. Phase 3 of the roadways and stuff on Morse Road, Fox Hill, Green Bridge, Morse Road, directional signage, dance harbors in Phase 4, Morse Road, Green Bridge entrance signs have been placed. First entrance signs was by Jimco Masonry. The War Mothers Bridge sign, Talent Commission. Certified payrolls for projects and contractors, subcontractors are coming in on a regular basis now. And our interim director conducted monitoring of these various construction sites. 2 Terrell clients we've hired for the lawn care and business and stuff like that. This summer we've been doing a lot of lawn care and stuff. Mainly trying to help the elders out, which is free of charge to them. However, we've had some hiccups and delays and stuff, but you guys may know, more breakdown and maintenance is needed. And we've also repaired one mower and purchased another. Also, some of the things that happened was with the Pawnee housing. They've had their construction up there by the housing office and stuff, which is completed now, but we kind of, put them on the vine and stuff, and to where there was a little behind to get some mowing and stuff like that, and different maintenance projects that they had going on. So the Terrell kind of stepped in a little bit and stuff to help where they can. 3 Terrell clients were hired to cut wood also, and I believe they've done some part, built up the barn a little bit, split some wood, put it down to the community building in various places and such. And of course, some delays have happened on with them as well. Various parts and equipment breakdown and stuff. Also, a good thing is, like for workers such as wood cutters, the guys who mow and stuff like that, we were able to purchase different equipment, safety equipment such as steel-toe boots and various things like that, goggles, glasses, whatnot, gloves. And such. So currently at the time we have more than 2 Terrell workers. And so 2 clients that are working with construction crews. One is Pawnee and one has a CIB with a Pawnee Nation companion. And so we've also hired a housekeeper for the property department who is also Pawnee. If it works out, they do have a chance for a full-time position with the Pawnee Nation. So we have 32 certifications that we had given out for training, 3 different training phases. One was a flagger, forklifting, as well as OSHA 10. And had fairly good turnout. There was little hiccups and stuff with them also, but it was worked out real quickly and they were able to do their training and stuff. Charles played, in that position, Charles played the instructions and the materials and stuff for the certificates for these different individuals and stuff that were on there. So, which was a good thing. PDC provided lunch for the folks and stuff that, people who come out and did the training and stuff, we like to thank those guys. So we kind of had a little meeting with them and they agreed to do that, which was a good thing because it was kind of an all-day training. So, VA projects are slowly coming along. We have the funds through the flood erosion project, which needs to be completed and should be, I think the estimation was around December. Sometime in December. And there are 2 houses ready for commission around town and stuff like that. We're going to utilize the Terrell pool. And all job announcements have been placed in the Pawnee Facebook, Chodex, and and the Pawnee Nation website, I'm sorry, for the different Terrell opportunities for employment and stuff like that. So, and that's about it that we got. So, if there's any questions.
I want to thank you for the mowing that you did for the elders. I know that how to do it, but maybe next year we can start early and go, work with the other departments and just have a plan going forward where we can get those 6 feet high weeds cut down early. Yeah, so we don't get that tall. But I know that a lot of our elders really appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Y'all have a good day. Well,
Thank you, sir.
Grant, Grant, I just wanted to thank you as well, because it seems like you guys have just really had a great net underneath the Terrell program, which I'm a big fan of. I really believe in empowering our underemployed and unemployed people, and to have a position that's open at IHS that someone might be able to fill full-time is really cool. That's what we're looking for. And then I heard you talking about the wood cutting, and you typically have in the past donated to the elders, taken wood, firewood out to them, and I hope that continues. It's getting cold already.
Yeah.
And that's a big struggle for folks that are housebound and that type of thing. So thank you. Please keep them in mind.
Good committee to be on.
I know it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Pawnee Nation Board reports. Yes.
Can I ask a question for Tara?
Sure.
Okay, it's a little more with what you were talking about, Sandy. You said that you provide wood to the elders?
Yes, they have in the past. I don't think they're out there right now,
Okay.
but they are trying to do mainly provide for the community building, as well as elders who are in special need. There's special circumstances that folks can't afford to work with wood,
Okay.
and they do try to help.
Okay. If you live on an allotment but not in Pawnee County, how will that affect them?
Yeah, see, that's one of the hard one to say. That's something I would bring up at Terrell.
I do know that before he had to pay part of it for the transportation. And he has problems now, so he really needs help. His grass cut and wood. So I just wanted to know so I can tell him.
Who are just outside that Pawnee County line and stuff. And some of them are right on the county line. They really use help with lawn mowing, as well as wood pitting and wood, and they bring wood.
Well, this is in the southeast corner of the jurisdiction, tribal jurisdiction, touching Creek County.
Yes. I'll surely bring that up.
Okay, I appreciate it. I know he would.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Pawnee Nation Utility Commission.
I am the chairman of the NFP. Good morning. Good morning. And I have, our committee has a handout we'd like to give to you. Do we have permission? I was making my way over here. I just wanted to have that. Okay, well, I noticed, well, if you notice our report, it is very basic. And I noticed everyone else gave a really thorough report, and I thought we were supposed to be quick and sweet. So anyway, let me add a little more to it. The Utility Authority Commission overview was established to manage the utilities of the Pawnee Nation and obtain and disperse funds as required for operation, maintenance, and expansion of the Pawnee Nation utilities. I am the chair. Rhonda James is the secretary treasurer. We have Ann Collins, Jimmy Justice, Lauren Quimby, and we have one more. He's one of the employees. This past quarter, we reviewed, and this is what you have, part of the 2018 Consumer Confidence Report. He got the report. Somehow, they came and examined everything in 2018, and it takes them forever to get the report. The report is probably this thick, so we couldn't do it all, but it is very interesting. So if you're interested, would like to know more, or just an overview of it, you're welcome to come to the property office anytime. And we will be meeting next Tuesday, November 5th. And what time are we meeting? 11?
Yes.
Okay. And so, you can look at all the mandated recommendations which are required or we will be out of compliance. But if you look at the next note we have on here about review of the infrastructure, the needs and compliance, the problem is there's no funding for those. And so we're going to be looking at that in the next couple of months and see if we can track, where we can track some down. And that will start at the next meeting. We also reviewed the Pawnee Nation Utility Authority Act of 2001, particularly sections 5. Am I over? No one else was. Okay, section 5, articles 5 deals with utility fees and billing, and article 6 pertains to enforcement, penalties, and sanctions. And we're finding we have a lot of problems with late fees, and are discussing when to turn the electricity off, and what, all of the little necessary legal things we have to have. We were also talking about raising the rate, but these will be discussed further in the next quarter. That's everything.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I just have a quick one, because I don't know the answer to this. Does somebody test our water every day?
Yes.
They do.
Okay, thank you, because he is the other person on this.
Yeah, I know that the Otos and the Ponkas have had a lot of water problems. Well, the water tables are contaminated because of the flooding and stuff, so I'm like, I hope that we're okay.
But if you want to know everything, you can look at the results of their inspection in this report.
I just wondered if they just checked every day. All right.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
It's really good to see the utility commission active. Yeah, it is.
What?
It's good to see y'all active.
Oh.
You want silver?
Pawnee Nation Board reports, Pawnee Nation Housing Authority Board.
Let's get ready for this. I believe, I'm not sure, where these reports are headed. Yeah. So I'll go through it. We'll focus right here. They're in. Our mission statement is to complete the needs of the Pawnee Nation members and other Native Americans living in the jurisdiction of the Pawnee Nation. Information regarding the housing needs may be obtained for the housing office located at 126 here in Pawnee, Oklahoma. Executive summary, the housing authority staff with 8 full-time employees to help provide assistance to tenants to rental, lease purchase, and non-HAZDA housing programs. The housing application are available also at the office and stuff if you need any more information on housing and housing stuff. Our quarterly goals and objectives for 2019, those of July, August, and September of 2019, are operating assistance for the 1937 Act and HAZDA housing, all expenses for work paid time and in full. Our revenue for the housing, for the HUD ISBG grant is $153,754. Our expenditures for the upgrades and rehabilitation for the lease purchase of $1,360.08. 1937 low rent is $29,982.15. And our housing authority offices are bringing us $2,201.52, leaving us for $49,537.86. Now, during the time our modernization and rehabilitation of privately owned homes, we had 3 applications given out and only 1 returned. But was ineligible. I'm not sure exactly why. I don't know of incomplete application or everything wasn't turned in that was needed to complete the application. The rehabilitation application was amended this quarter. The services for proper credentials and stuff. Development, no projects at this time are going on for development. But our housing service emergency assistance was provided to 13 applicants. Services include like utilities, plumbing issues, AC, air conditioner unit issues, or heating. And the total on that was $2,699.99. Our housing management service, Eagle Chief, during the quarter renovation work was completed and 2 low rent units were occupied and 2 units were also vacated and occupied or reoccupied. No training at this time has been done as of this quarter and stuff. Planning and inspection monthly accountability fees were paid and all taxes, state, federal, and Social Security and Medicare. So we're all caught up to date on things such as that. The down payment assistance for received mostly over income. We had 5 applicants, and that was some of the reason for some of those being denied. But mostly of them were over income. Our assistance program for the 184 loan income guidelines appraisals available for proposals for sale in Pawnee. Discuss tips when reviewing a home for sale. Our college rental assistance, we have 10 applications and stuff, and were approved. Each received $500 for assistance, which is a really good thing for folks. Our Pawnee Nation Community Center, the new entry door has been replaced, and the future plans to renovate the carpet and to like a hard floor, such as like a community center. Because there's a small leak when it rains and stuff. We've had a lot of rain, and the carpet gets wet, so we've been pulling it out and replacing that. Financial report, the quarter report ended September 30, 2019, on 10/1/2018 through 9/30/2019. The authority board employees and outside accounting firm, which performs our standard monthly procedures and prepares monthly financial statements, all cash transactions, including draws and open receivables and reviewed and recorded in bank accounts are reconciled. No exceptions were noted. On page 3 of the report is pretty much a breakdown of all the numbers and stuff like that. It actually says page 4 on our first page. Anything I know, thing. And I can run down through that with you also if you like. The actual 4th page also is the continuation, like our Mahazda, non-Mahazda, are rent from like the 1937 years, which is DG. And different, from units repaired and materials costs and such. And that's pretty much the rest of the report on all the pages. So, I'm sorry, I think I failed to mention that we had advertised or let the PBC board know that the 2 positions were opening, and I guess the term was coming to an end, and I think it's been filled also. I'm not aware of who they are, so I apologize for that.
Carol Nuttall and Robert and Anthony.
Anthony, yeah. All right, okay.
Thank you, Grant.
If there's any questions.
Yeah, I just have a comment. It sounds like the housing is really moving forward. far. We've been doing some really good stuff. I've noticed the remodeling and remodeling stuff. I'm looking at your 3-month revenue stream, and your rental revenues at that is like 41 grand for 3 months, okay? I would really challenge the board to start looking at development. You know, there's got to be HUD funds out there. I've read that several tribes have gotten millions of dollars to start building. And if that's even prohibitive, you know, we just can't get that, let's consider some of those little houses for our elders. They have a little community. I mean, I think they're like 30 grand, 40 grand. And so certainly we could do something to start, you know, driving development again. It's been a long time since we built out homes here.
Yes, it is a few years since they've done the elderly homes up there by the water tower.
Correct. Yeah, and that's great too. But I mean, we can't just stop and, you know, we need to keep having a vision as to what we want to do in the house and grow. Yeah, thanks, Grant.
Also helps with their program.
It helps Tara, it helps everybody. I mean, it's a win-win for all kinds of people, and all kinds of witness.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Museum Board of Directors.
Yeah, no, actually, they're after this quarter, so they'll have one for
Pawnee Nation College Board of Trustees.
Good afternoon, y'all.
Good afternoon.
And are we not blessed with this beautiful day given to us at the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to briefly summarize what President Burgess has sent to you, and then I'll go from what we have been doing. We did have our Board of Trustees meeting October the 5th, and we had a quorum with Brad Sowell on the board, James writing in, Les writing in, Randa Shimwa, Charlie Longchief, and myself, and the only one that was absent was Dr. Evans at that time. And we also had at the board meeting, of course, President Burgess, Amber Whiteshire, and Stacy Burns, who is the project director of the Native American Career and Technical Education Program. And we also had a special guest, Dr. Nicole Bean from Bacone College, and it was wonderful to have her there, and she was kind of like answering a lot of the questions that we, financial questions that we had with the Bacone College, and she was going to take them to the president, Dr. Clark of Bacone. Okay, and to summarize what was sent to you, the Pawnee Nation College, President Burgess and administrative staff have met with Bacone College administration, and 2 colleges are in the midst, and we're both in the midst of formalizing a new memorandum of understanding to include all business, education, and liberal studies programs. In October of 2019 also, Bacone Vice President Leroy Anderson, PhD, and again Ms. Nicole Bean visited with the Pawnee Nation College faculty and staff for an update and to continue dialogue between both colleges. The colleges are now discussing the early childhood programs and how best to serve the working students, with Pawnee Nation College has brought to the core of the combined college curriculum. And Pawnee Nation College is able to offer certifications in certificates in early childhood development under the banner of accreditation within Bacone's education degree. Bacone does not offer certification coursework. Therefore, Pawnee Nation College enrollment will allow our students to receive such certification while pursuing their degree options, which is a big plus for us. The program has been initiated with Osage Nation and its Corps of Education instructors in size. Pawnee Nation College and the city of Pawnee are now scheduling a meeting to renew discussions of the old city hospital for potential classrooms and future course expansion. Centered to the discussion also is the network of rural health providers which have shown an interest in using the old hospital as well for service provision to the Pawnee community. Our Native American Career Technical Education program at Pawnee Nation College is up and running with 41 students enrolled in accredited courses through Bacone College. Students who complete their course of study will earn an associate's degree in business or liberal arts from Pawnee Nation College while earning their associates in business, American Indian Studies, or liberal studies from Bacone. And the Pawnee O, which is P-A-N-I, and the O is for OSU, or when we partner with OSU, it's our agricultural project. And this past month, the students and faculty of the Pawnee O project traveled to Nebraska to assist with the harvesting of the 2019 Pawnee corn seed field and to partake in corn planting and workshops. Mr. Dennis Haga is the lead instructor for the Pawnee O project, while Ms. Kim Murray has assisted with some of the student projects as well as a course project for the Pawnee O project. And President Burgess is also pursuing new partnerships and met with two colleges just recently. Nebraska Indian Community College, which is NICC in Mason, Nebraska. And NICC is a tribal college and a member of the American Indian Higher Education Consortium. And it has a program in American Indian Studies, business, and entrepreneurship, and also early childhood education. He also met with Northeast Oklahoma Arts and Mechanical College, NEO, in Miami, Oklahoma. And NEO is a two-year college with several majors in agriculture, horticulture, and animal husbandry, which will make a great correlation with Pawnee Nation College in developing our ag science studies. Both of these colleges provide studies that are a great complement to what Pawnee Nation College is initiating as new majors for our students. Our next Board of Trustees meeting is scheduled for December the 14th. And if you have any questions, ask away, and I'll bring Mr. Burgess up here. But I just want to say that for me, as a Pawnee, it's really an honor to serve on the Board of Trustees. I really, really love, especially the medical part, giving guidance there. And so, but I thank you. But any questions?
Thank you for serving.
Thank you.
Any questions? I support the college and everything that they do for our children. It's a great comfort for me knowing that we have these resources available to our children now, whereas in the past we had nothing. And if there's anything that my office can do to assist the college, come see me.
Thank you.
Then last but not least, Pawnee Tribal Development Board. Come on up, y'all.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
The Pawnee Business Council has received the consolidated financial statements. We've made a couple updates to them along the way. The bank is learning us as we are learning the bank. Some of the things on our 3 quarterly loan ratios have changed, but you have the most recent copies. All of our ratios at the bank, all of our gaming revenue for the third quarter was down just over 0.1% from the third quarter of 2018. Coin-in for the quarter at Stonewall was up an incredible $8,223,849 for the quarter. It's a great number. We've had a lot of issues with our hold and our win percentages based on the performance of our games that are provided by VGT. Our hold, while we've had great coin-in, is down to about 1.69% in the month of August, which meant that even in August, where the one individual month had $5.5 million more in coin-in for August, we only brought an additional $50,000 to the bottom line. We are renegotiating all of our vendor agreements with VGT and Gaming Capital Group to make them more suitable to our business and to make us more profitable in the future. And those are ongoing right now. Convenience store gross margins for the quarter were up by 9% over the third quarter of 2018. TDC corporate expenses were up 38.3% for the third quarter of 2019 over 2018. Primarily, this was due to assuming the debt service on the bank loans. In the past, all the debt service was under Stonewall Casino and under Snack and Pack. The new loan is made between the TDC and First Secure Bank, which provides backing. So all those expenses were moved to our TDC budget. There have been increases in personnel year over year by 5 persons. We have a Director of Security and Surveillance, Director of Finance, Director of Food and Beverage, Payroll Accountant, and Accounts Payable Accountant. However, we have terminated our agreement with Joseph E. Whitley as of August 22nd, and the additional expenses for accounting staff will be more than offset by the elimination of the contract expense. For about 60 days, we were paying double expenses for our new staff and for Joseph E. Whitley. That has gone away, and now we should start realizing the savings. The Trading Post retail was up $12,299 over third quarter of 2018. Travel Plaza was up $12,606 over the third quarter of 2018. The Trading Post Casino was up $5,211.93 over the third quarter of 2018. Stonewall Casino was down quarter over quarter by $91,490. And again, this is primarily due to the decreases in the hold percentage and the number of jackpots paid through VGT. Again, we've addressed these volatility issues. We've had ongoing meetings with VGT, and I think that by next quarter, we'll be able to bring some significant savings and changes to the Business Council. Revenue at Howler's Famous Barbecue was virtually flat from 2019 compared to 2018, but the expenses were down, so we were able to appreciate more profit. TP Casino's revenue for the third quarter of 2019 was down by $23,000 compared to 2018, primarily due to large jackpots again paid out through VGT. The volatility in those games is just too much for our business plan. And when you have a little casino with only 34 games and someone hits a big jackpot, you can turn your numbers upside down. The Pawnee Star, the Cricket Pod building, expenses were reduced by $15,723 compared to third quarter of 2018. Right now, we're just paying building our taxes and utilities on the building. So it was reduced because we're no longer doing any business through it. The BJ's expenses, building utilities and fuel, were virtually flat quarter over quarter, and those numbers remain right about $15,000 a quarter. All TDC location expenses combined increased by $272,446. for the third quarter of 2019 over 2018. The increases were driven by personnel expenses, increased jackpot, lower hold percentage, additional expenses from lost invoices. There were 3 months of gaming invoices that weren't in our system, weren't marked for payment out of Stonewall. We had to go back and pay 3 months of machine leases at BGT. There are also some unpaid commitments from the past at Stonewall, which are now all caught up. In January, we assumed the responsibility for the surveillance department, which we didn't have a year ago. We also spent an additional $100,000 year-to-date to replace repair cameras, computers, and equipment for surveillance. I assure you, all bills are current, and there is no additional debt. When we closed the loan in May, we brought $2,300,000 along with the loan. That $2,300,000 is still in the bank as of 10 o'clock yesterday morning. So we've done very well for 5 months under this new loan. Excuse me. Recently, $175,000 was approved by the board for renovation of the trading post. The improvements include a new HVAC system with smoke handlers, a computer floor beneath the game so all those wires aren't hanging off the walls, new carpet, new paint, bathroom remodel, and minor construction inside the building. We also added just recently at the TDC board meeting an additional $50,000 to pay the entire parking lot. And that construction will begin on Monday, November 4th. An RFP for health and insurance benefits was conducted by TDC in an effort to reduce expenses for 2020. We'll be making a decision on that RFP next week. An RFP on customer service training for all of our locations was issued, and it was determined to award the business to a company called Purpose and Performance Group out of Tulsa, and they'll begin training with all of our staff from top to bottom, including board members, beginning the first of the year. We have, again, ongoing discussions with BGT and Gaming Capital Group to increase revenues, to decrease volatility at our gaming facilities. We're talking with Oasis about a 21st century player tracking system. Right now it's too expensive for us, but we're hoping we turn the business around so we can afford it to keep better track of our gaming businesses going forward. PTDC has paid to the tribe for this quarter $30,000 in rents. That's almost $90,000 year to date. We've also paid $1,114,275.95 to the Pawnee Nation of Oklahoma. It breaks down as follows. Gaming assessment fees, $571,181. Gaming application fees, $7,460. Tarot fees, $283,773. And directly to the nation, $251,861.21. In addition, year-to-date, almost $90,000 has been received through the petroleum compact with the state. And of course, that money, although it doesn't touch TDC, is generated by TDC businesses. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that although we are the leasee of the trading post and the tribe owns the building, we still pay rent. And all these leasehold improvements are being made 100% by TDC. I just have to mention that. We didn't ask for any relief on the rent. Our employee report, our enrollment report, to date, 28 of the TDC employees are enrolled Pawnee, 10 are of Pawnee descent, 30 are other tribal, non-tribal is 87, and not enrolled is non-enrolled Pawnee member, and I never can figure out why that is one person. So those are the up-to-date reports from TDC. I I'm glad Cindy didn't give me the hook or the buzzer. Any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any plans for your buildings? Have you developed any plans for those buildings in town yet?
Yeah, we have talked about the buildings, but no decision has been made at the board level. There have been a couple of discussions about the old Pawnee Star building, the Peckinpah building. I've talked with some people out of the state of New York recently who have solicited us for commercial real estate and sent them details, but nothing's been decided.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thanks, Bob, for your comprehensive report. I'm going to save my detailed questions for our joint meeting, and to just to save time and not to just put you on the spot.
I live on the spot.
I know you do. But getting back, I'd like to know, Mr. Vance in town has one of our little buildings next door to the gas station across from the ranch. And Mrs. Horsecheap over there has asked time and time again to be able to lease that for her own business. And I believe that it's within your charter to develop, to help tribal members develop their businesses. And that's one of your biggest, one of your many, like 10 things to be doing. And I'd really appreciate you checking that out and come back and let us know what's going on with that. I would like to have that lease terminated so that we can have a tribal member in there so she can run her business.
Yeah, I have no problem answering that right now. And currently, we get $400 a month for that building, and Mr. Vance stores his catering business equipment in there. I would encourage any Pawnee citizen who wants to start a business, who's got help with a business, or is looking for a storefront, to make a proposal to the Tribal Development Corporation Board to present them formally with, I want to rent this building, I want to rent this building for this purpose, and let the board consider it. We do a lot of talking about it, but unless it's a formal presentation to the board, so the board can vote yea or nay, it will sit the way it is right now. So I encourage anyone to put together your proposal, get it put on the board agenda, and let the board consider it. Because the property is sitting there, we're paying taxes, we're running utilities, there are much better uses.
And it's used for storage, and that's ridiculous.
And we have no future plans to expand into that building.
Yeah.
Although, we're trying to press for space. You know, one thing we could do is move part of PPC into the Peckinpah building and press to do so. But we're trying to keep the business going and grow everything. But functionally, our building doesn't really work for what we got, but we're making it work. So, something else.
Sure, and then, even consideration could be given to turn one of those and I've talked about this many times, and just food for thought, is that I think they even have those shops within Tulsa, and I know they have them all over the place, and I think it's called Play It Again, and then people donate their equipment, kids' cleats and shoulder pads and helmets or whatever, baseball bats, and then it allows a parent that has a kid in school and sports to go buy that, relatively inexpensive. And I would like to see that happen. We've got empty buildings. I don't understand. We could certainly do something for our children.
Well, and we should do something with them other than just have to say, I don't know.
That's right.
They've taken the financial asset or an asset to the community. We just shouldn't let them sit there and deteriorate.
Well, and then I even talked about having it as a little gaming center, for the kids, so they could have arcade in there. It's just things like that keep the community good and keep kids off the street.
Well, I think that all things would be considered. I would not mind turning buildings over to the tribe and use some of the payments that we have also. I think that's a good asset for
and we'd like to have more money, so.
Yeah. And if we work together, we'll get that done.
That's right. Thanks so much. I just wanted to share that with you. I see Moni sitting there, and she's been talking about this probably for 3 years.
Moni and I talk about it every week about this.
Well, please, Moni, get your proposal together and let's see what we can do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Bob, I have one question. This is in response to the USDA's decision on the hemp issue. How are we coming out of the gate on that, or are we still in the gate?
The last I knew, by the direction of the Business Council, that hemp was wanted to be kept separate. Hemp and medical marijuana the desire was to keep it separate from the TEC. I have received no future direction from the Business Council. Andrew, my chief, and I have attended a lot of meetings and talked to a lot of people, but the last I was told was that the Business Council wanted to keep the TEC and the hemp medical marijuana potential separate. Is that direction changed?
That sounds good to me.
I don't think that a determination was ever made. I think we had discussions about it, but no official action was ever taken in regard to that. So if the council wants TDC to do that, then the directive, we need to vote on it. Or if we want it here, we need to get staff in line to move forward.
And I'm not sure that we have the balance to do that. You know, that's going to be huge. So it has to be at a TDC level, maybe as a separate entity of TDCs, to where it's not co-mingled with gaming and everything.
Well, we certainly would like to just give some direction.
Keep in mind, council, too, that on Thursday, I believe, it was Wednesday, USDA finally made a decision on a testing method. I think I forwarded some of the initial information to you on that. I've got to digest it and talk to some other attorneys and see what it really means. But it is good, though, because what you're talking about, I think we're at the point now where we can actually start moving forward. Because we've been stuck on pause too long.
We have an investor interested, if they even are, right?
I know, and I do know this. I had a young man approach me last week, and he's with some Oregon investors, and so he's interested in wanting to talk to the council. I'm waiting on him to put together his proposal, and then, let y'all know who he is. But the hemp thing is not dead. In fact, that's the problem, is it's been stuck on pause way too long because the feds, they're protracted studying. But finally, now we have something. And also, keep in mind, the nation's put in quite a bit of time in terms of their investment, and also some money, effort, all that. So, and not only that, as far as I know, the Pawnee Nation was the first nation in Oklahoma Indian country to have a hemp statute and regulations. So we're ready to go. I hope now with this decision made on Wednesday and this continued interest, we can actually do something now. I still think it has a lot of potential.
And with that said, we also need to look at our HR policies too, because people, have cards to be able to use. And where do we draw the line? That has to be looked at.
And our non-order codes.
Correct.
Yep. And not only that, Councilor Sammy and the council, I had another question posed to me last week. And I shared this, I think, with I don't know if I shared it with one or two of the councilors or not, but I know this is coming, this is a policy decision I think the council's probably going to have to look at. That is, when it comes to the hospitality properties, is the Pawnee Nation going to allow usage of medical marijuana or any other sort of cannabis? The thing is what kind of policy are you going to develop? And that's going to be a policy call where you guys are going to have to draw something in the sand that's legal. And I think you're going to have to do that so you have something on paper to protect yourself when it comes to your patrons. So something to think about.
Well, it all has to do with change control, right? It all rolls down. So this amount's going to be affected. So we're going to draw maybe some type of a Visio timeline to see, okay, what's going to change and who's going to own it and what have you. But in the meantime, I don't honestly believe that the nation is ready to dive into a hemp business. We have an arm of us that does business, and that's TDC. And as much as as much as I hate to throw it back at you guys, I could really perhaps split the business, and just not develop a business completely, with their HR and all that, just keep it cohesive, but just have an arm out that takes care of that business. Because we're going to have more businesses. That's what you guys are there for, not just gaming. We need to develop more. We need to be able to rely on other resources aside from gaming.
I agree, but I would be remiss not to say that the immediate future is in gaming, and it is taking care of our gaming and developing the opportunities we have with our existing building. My personal opinion is we need to look at acquiring land in Yale and other locations. Our business tells us that it's profitable and we should be able to move forward. We just haven't had the resources to do it. And if we can find the way, I don't know the way, to acquire some of our allotment land and to work with our citizens and their families to acquire more land. The potential in 2 specific areas is great if we can just move forward with it. And our job is to be more profitable and to be able to contribute more to the tribe so that we can do things for all the citizens of this tribe. And if we turn our backs on the business that can bring the revenue to do something else, we don't need another t-shirt shop. We don't need an ice cream parlor. We don't need things that aren't going to generate long-term foundational revenues for this tribe. So I'm just saying, let's keep our eyes on the prize, get that done, and move forward with some thought.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Do you have a question?
Not a question, but to highlight what Mr. Dillard is talking about. When the college initially brought all this information forward, we had over half a dozen or more tribal citizens who wanted to lease their lands for hemp growth and development. So if you want to do this as a tribal business, then the tribe would have to have its own lands. But individual members want to raise hemp themselves. And your legislation only affected the tribal government. So if you're going to do this, there are investors around that still want to do hemp growth and manufacturing. The first thing I've heard 3 other tribes talk about was a processing plant. But you have to have hemp to process before you put in a processing plant. And there are other tribes in the northwest and out west who are doing industrial hemp, which is the hemp that is turned into plastics, wood products, or feed, protein products for animal feed. So there's other avenues other than the CBD oil for hemp growth and development. And so just to give you all that information, if you're not doing basic research or looking at it yourselves, you have tribal members who want to lease their land to hemp developers. Just a statement for you all to digest that you don't have to own the land or buy other lands, but you could even lease it from individuals to do hemp production.
Don, what's that going to take? What's that going to take to allow a tribal member to grow hemp on their land?
I don't think much now. And that was really the intent all along. Because the thing is when we put this together, Councilor Sammy, the viewpoint was that putting the statute together and the regulations together was to enable tribal members to do what President Burns is talking about. Pawnee Nation is in the business of regulating and taxing. And so if you have a member who has trust property and they want to cut their own deal with someone else, the only thing that they need to be aware of are the Pawnee Nation statutes and the Pawnee Nation regs. And also, we don't have a tax yet. It'll come, but my guess is it's going to be minimal. But that's the only thing you have to be aware of. That's the only thing Pawnee Nation has involved in it is taxing or regulating and taxing. If a member of the nation, like Mr. Burgess is talking about, wants to cut a deal with some other outside investor, as long as they come to the nation and they're compliant with the nation's statute, regulations, and eventually our tax, they're good to go.
does this work? I mean, we've got a quarterly meeting, we're on video, we need to inform the people. So what do they need to do to make it happen?
First thing I would suggest is become familiar with the statute and the regs, okay?
Can we publish those?
There should be online. Also, they're welcome to come by my office with any questions. Another thing they need to do is, I'm sure that if someone hasn't approached them, take a look at folks who are in the business of leasing, doing business with ending and tribal members, and getting tribal land and putting crop or what have you with it. Get familiar with that process. I would also warn them, be careful with that, because there's any business you go into, there's people who are not exactly above board. So whoever approaches you, do a good background check on them. If you don't know how to do a background check on them, come to me, okay? And then we'll figure it out, so.
I believe all of this is in the regs that's under DNRS. There's an application process and a background check. It's already been established. They would just have to go see Monty's shop and make sure that everything's in line, and they would do all that and vet that person.
And Treasurer Thompson. Yeah, Treasurer Thompson's exactly right. The thing is, either me or Monty or at the disposal of whoever wants to come in.
So is it fair to say that it's a green light then, for anybody that's interested in doing this, they can report?
The way I see it.
So my only recommendation for anybody who's watching, if you're doing it as an individual, you need to get a business plan.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
need to find out, is this going to be financially feasible for me?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
since we're not in the business of doing that,
Right.
whoever that individual is, my only recommendation, look at everything.
Dr. Knight, she's exactly right. And that is whoever, again, not everybody is above board.
And this is only on trust land that we would be involved with.
And once again, Treasurer Thompson's exactly right.
You might tell them what DNRS is.
Division of Natural Resources, Monty Mantoff is the division director. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Change the subject. I know you've been waiting for this land to get in trust so you can work on this parking lot. When you said if you could get this parking lot, you could bring the people in. How long do you foresee before that gets into place? And how many spots are you looking at to build?
Andrew Knight, Chief, and I met with Chris McCrae approximately 6 months ago around the Singer, and we looked at the parking lot, and we knew that we could not add additional parking at Stonewall until the 20 acres was put in trust. As of yesterday, November 1st, the Federal Register published that the land of the Pawnee will be put in trust, and then a walkthrough by the BIA in the next few days, and then a closing with President Whiteshirt. The land will be in trust certainly before Thanksgiving. So once we have that land, we have the ability to add parking spaces. The plan that Chris McCrae presented to Andrew and I was to add an additional 120 parking spaces at Stonewall that will be construction graded with the right kind of soils, so it's not eroding as the water's coming off the hill, to add additional lights and parking. There was going to be the discussion of applying some of the ODOT money, which I'm not familiar with the process, but this is what Chris made us aware of. And there are 80 parking spaces out now. We're going to add an additional 120, which would take us up to 200 parking spaces at Stonewall. As soon as the land is closed, we'll have to meet with Chris, and then we will have to see what the status is on the monies, and then I guess collectively we will agree when and how we proceed.
That was my next question. Okay, any more questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. May I get a motion to accept the Pawnee Nation Committee, Commission, and Board reports?
I'll make that motion.
Call for the vote.
Darrell Watcher. Okay, I get one. Everybody else. Darrell Walken.
Should have been white cat. Wash it. Yes.
Tricia McCray, yes. Angela Thompson.
Yes.
Sammy Campbell.
Yes.
Donna Hare.
Yes.
Charles Knight.
Yes.
Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.
Well, we need a motion to adjourn the meeting now. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.